So we're continuing in Mirz HaShem here in the sugya of Kiddush HaShem on Daf Ayin Daled Amud Beis. And the issue that we're discussing in terms of Esther B'Farhes Yahavi is Karka Olam. Now Tosas, this long Tosas for Esther, which we started a few times because, you have to go through this entire Tosas, assumes that if not for the principle of Karka Olam, then you would not be allowed to be thrown onto the body of a baby, and you'll save your own life by crushing the baby and killing the baby. That would be prohibited. That would be a violation of the principle of Ma'achazis, where in Ritzicha Yeharg Val Yav, except for the principle of Karka Olam, which means that they're going to throw his body onto the baby. He's not jumping onto the baby. Therefore, it's Shevi Altase, and as we discussed, it's not Kumvase. Now, Reb Chaim is bothered by this because Reb Chaim doesn't believe that allowing yourself to be thrown onto a baby would be a violation of the Isur Ritzicha. Because Ritzicha requires not that you're a bullet, inside a gun or an arrow inside the archer, inside the keshet, the bow, but rather that you in some sense are killing somebody. But here, you're just an arrow, a chetz, or an even, biyad hazorek, and they're throwing your body onto the baby. That's not an Isur Ritzicha. Why then do we need this whole principle of Karka Olam in order to allow yourself to be thrown? You're not violating Ritzicha. That was Rav Chaim's problem. So Rav Soloveitchik wanted to expand Reb Chaim and embellish his principles by claiming that you're not allowed to save yourself through the death of someone else. And if you allow yourself to be thrown on the baby, then you are matzil atzmo b'nefesh chavera. By killing the baby, you save your own life. What led Reb Chaim to that conclusion that you're not allowed to save your own life? All the best. I'll close up. That you're not allowed to save your own life through the death of someone else. So this was a famous Gemara that Reb Chaim quotes in Bamitzia Samach Beis. Shnayim shayu holchim b'derech. Right, two people are on the road. Ubiyad echad mehem kiton shel mayim. One of them is holding on to a water supply. Im shosim shneim mesim. If they split it, they'll both die. Im shosa echad mehem. If one of them drinks, then magil yishu. He could arrive at an urban center where he'll get wood. Darish ben Petura. Mutav sheyishtu shneim v'yamusu. V'al yireh echad mehem b'misas chaver. Better they split the water than one person should drink the water and watch his friend, literally translated, watch his friend perish. Achibara bi'akiva v'limeid v'cheach chicha imach. Imach means secondary. Chayecha kodmin l'chayech havercha. But primary is to save yourself. So that doesn't mean that he can grab the water out of his friend. That would be causing his death. That would be Ritzicha al Yidei Groma. But he's allowed to drink the water that is his. So Reb Chaim wanted to try to understand the opinion of Ben Petura. It seems so counterintuitive that they should both drink and both die, splitting the water. why shouldn't one of them save his own life if anyway his friend is going to die? Because according to Ben Petura, they're both going to die by splitting the water. So why not save one of them, at least, because the other one is going to die anyway? So Reb Chaim came up with a brand new principle here, based on Ben Petura. We'll see where Rabbi Akiva fits in. Asur lahatzil es atzmo al yedei misas chavera. By drinking the water, and the water represents the life force of his friend, he is basically building his own life, so to speak, saving his own life, al yedei misas chavera. So by drinking the entire water supply, he is in effect causing the death of his friend. So he's being matzelas atzmo through the misa of chavera, and that's also lahatzilas atzmo b'nafsho shel chavera. Says Reb Chaim, fundamentally, even Rabbi Akiva adopts the same principle of Ben Petura. The only thing is that, for example, if one of them has the Kiton Shalmayim, then Rabbi Akiva says that he could drink the water because Chayecha Kodmet, which he derives from Apostle. But let's say nobody has the possession over the water. There's a Kiton Shalmayim in front of them on the ground. Even Rabbi Akiva would be modeh to Ben Petura that in that case both of them should die. Why? Because if one of them grabs the water and therefore the other one is going to die, since that water represents the life of the other fellow, he's being matzelas atzmo al yedei shfichas domim shel chavera. And Rabbi Akiva accepts that principle, that the Torah forbids a person from saving himself through the death that he's causing to his friend. The only thing is, Rabbi Akiva disagrees and rejects Ben Petura in the case where one of them is in possession of the water. He doesn't have to give up possession of the water in order to save his friend because Chayecha Kodman. But then his act of drinking the water is an act of Hatzolas Atzmo. And that's called Chayecha Kodman, that's called V'chechicha Imov. You own and you have the possession over the water. You don't have to give up that possession. But if you don't have possession and you're grabbing the water, then you're basically saving yourself through the Misa of your friend. So, for example, during the Nazi Holocaust, there were cases where a person could save himself, but as a result, somebody else is going to die. Like, for example, let's say there are visos, vizot, as we call them in Hebrew, and it's a limited number. So if he grabs one of the visas, one of those documents, he can save himself perhaps, but somebody else who could have grabbed onto that visa will die. Or let's say, for example, the case where, they rounded up a certain number, there was a quota of children to be destroyed, and he, the father of one of them, could save his son, but as a result, some other son will be taken in his place. So in all these cases, he's causing the death of another Jew, either by taking the visa or by taking his son out of the group, could bribe one of the capos, whatever the case may be. So you would have thought, well, Chayecha Kodman, let me do what I have to do. But this would be Asur, even according to Rabbi Akiva, because he's basically taking the Kiton Shomayim. It's not his. He's taking the visa. So again, Rabbi Akiva's case is where he owns the water. He has possession of the water. He's not saving himself by drinking the water, b'misaso shel chavero, but rather he's just implementing his chus, his rights as the owner of the water to drink the water. He's allowed to drink the water. But in a case where the water is not his, so in one extreme case, it belongs to his friend. If he grabs it from his friend and he steals it, then again, he's saving himself, b'nafsho shel chavero, and he's not allowed to steal it. But now let's take the third case where the water is hefker. Nobody owns it. So his friend doesn't have any rights to the water more than he does. Everybody has equal rights to be zochem and a hefker. So if somebody comes forward and exercises his rights, and he's kol kodem zocher, he was zocher, he's not saving himself b'nafsho shel chavero. Because the very moment that he grabs onto the water, he becomes the bailim of the water. He has the schus mamon to drink that water. So he's not saving himself by killing someone else. Now, we mentioned in the past that according to some Rishonim, the halach of Yehareg Val Yavar applies when he's being nene from Atzi Asherah. Now, l'chora, what that means is that if he benefits from Atzi Asherah, he's violating the Isur Hanov of Avodah Zarah. You're not allowed to have Hanov from Avodah Zarah. But alternatively, you could say the following, that by utilizing the Atzi Asherah for the restoration of his health as a remedy for his disease, then the ripui that he's remedying himself, if you could use that word, is through Avodah Zarah. And there's an Isur of Ein Misrapim Me Avodah Zarah. Even if he would not violate the Isur Hanov from Avodah Zarah, you're not allowed to be misrape through a chefetz of Avodah Zarah. And let's say he would be misrape shelo kederech hana'asa. Okay, that's not considered a violation of the Isur Hanov. But nevertheless, even though he doesn't violate the Isur Hanov, which is derived from the pasuk lo yidbak l'cha ma'umim and acherem, because he's doing it shelo kederech hana'asa, but nevertheless, there might be a separate Isur to be misrape from a chefetz of Avodah Zarah, even in a case where he's not violating the Isur Hanov of Avodah Zarah. In other words, included on the Kiddush HaShem is that you're not allowed to save yourself with a chefta of the Gimel Averos, even in a scenario where he's not violating the Isur Avodah Zarah per se. Shvichas damim is chal, a chiyuv, he has yehorg val yavor, he cannot save himself through a chefza of shvichas damim, or gili arayis, or avodah zarah. So the machayev here of Kiddush Hashem is not the ma'isa avera of avodah zarah, gili arayis, and shvichas damim per se, but rather the fact that he's saving himself through this chefza, through this avera. And maybe that could explain the Ramban that we spoke about. Right, the Gemara says on Daf Ayin Hey in the name of Yehuda Marav, Ma'isa b'Adam Echad shenosan einav v'isha achas, Helo libotina, Bo v'sholu l'rofim, v'yamru lo, ein lo takana ad shetiboil, Amru chachamim yomas v'al tiboil, Tamod l'fanav haruma, yomas v'al tamod l'fanav haruma, Tisaper imo me'achorei agoder, Yomus v'al tesaper imo me'achorei agod. Now the Ramban Shita is that the Isur of Krevas Bosel Arayos is only the Rabbanon. And that we'll find in the Asogas Ramban to the Sefer Mitzvahs Lotas Hashin Nun Gimel. And even according to the Rambam, Parakaf Aleph Milchas Yisuri Bi'alocha Aleph, that Krevas Bosel of Chibuk V'Nishuk is awesome in a Torah, but nevertheless, the Isur Staklus, the Arayas, is only an Isur Rabbanon. So when it says Hamud l'fanav Aruma, that's his Staklus. His Staklus, even according to the Rambam, l'chor is only the Rabbanon, because it's not chibuk v'nishuk, it's not krevas basar. So do we say that Yehorav al Yavra applies even in a case of an Isur de Rabbanon? But again, maybe we could say the same Yisod, that you're not allowed to be matzil atzmo, right? Even with a hefta of, in this case, Gili Arayos. The staklus in Arayos generates an Isur Doraisa of Osur Lahatzilas Atzmo b'chefta shel Arayos. And that's called Yehorav Val Yav. Okay, then, I think this is where we'll stop for today, John. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Shkech.